Welcome back. A local team leader for a group of inner-city youth working on the CDC revamp project is calling on the powers that be to provide more employment opportunities for youth at risk. He says their work ethic and zeal to earn an honest living has been clear in the past week. This, he says, is indication that all the youth need is a chance to prove themselves.
Amidst the controversy surrounding the facelift of the Castries CDC buildings, one team leader who is part of the project to breathe new life into the buildings has pointed out one positive aspect of the ongoing works. M. Curtin said a group of young inner-city men have been making the most of the opportunity handed to them, which allows them to earn honest money. Curtin said these young men and others like them are usually written off in society, and opportunities for employment are few and far between. However, he said when this chance was presented to them, they grabbed it with both hands and have shown their positive capabilities.
I have some workers, they put me to supervise. And let me tell you, these guys are from the ghetto. They didn't have no work. They got a chance to work. And their behavior, they be portraying in the ghetto. And the behavior now on the job site is two different behaviors, right? The guy is listening to directive when it has to be given to them. They're doing what has to be done. No problem.
Curtin said this should be highlighted and the government should take note of this shining example. He expressed wishes for more initiatives and opportunities to be made available for the inner-city youth so that they could prove that they are so much more capable than the negative stigmas surrounding them.
I think what now the government need to do is try to find farming, find something that could occupy these young guys so that they could have less time in the ghetto and at work doing something that could make the country better.
Studies have shown that the majority of the crime committed on Ireland are perpetrated by young men, with many of them coming from inner-city communities. Curtin believes, however, that this can change. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Now, is the prominent yellow featured on the newly painted CDC buildings part of a political game, or is it a proud display of patriotism? This has been the topic of debate since the project began. SLP hopeful Peter Lansico fanned the flames by calling it shameful politicking. Here is what you have to say on this matter.
On Monday, Hot 7 TV featured Peter Lansico, who is eyeing the Castries Central seat on an SLP ticket. Lansico expressed anger over the choice of colors used to repaint the CDC buildings, namely the prominent yellow, stating that he believes it is a political ploy by the UWP administration rather than patriotism. So today we asked members of the public whether they think his words are correct or whether he's just blowing steam for no reason. Here's what they had to say.
I love the color of the building. It looks like St. Lucia flag, ain't it, man? But in the meantime, I don't love the yellow, ain't it? Because I don't back yellow, I don't back red, I back it, ain't it?
Beautiful paint that day. That's so beautiful. I love it. When you say a song in the market and I watch that, I think it's like it's the world that day.
Well, I like the colors. It lifts up the city. I don't see anything wrong with it. To me right now, the city is brighter. I don't see any politics in it. I don't know none of the politicians, but I love the color of the city right now.
The color is beautiful. I love it.
As I say, well, the color is bothering me. If you use a party hack, the color will bother you. But for me alone, it is bothering me. Use a St. Lucian. You have to represent your colors. You check it, straight up.
The color is good. And the color of the city should be more bright up too, you know, more St. Lucian colors. 758, Independence Day coming, it's all good. They have to keep it up, man. More white, yellow, black, and blue, you know. That's our true color, you know, St. Lucia true. The color of the sky and seas too, you feel me? Yeah, bless.
My first one, the color is yellow must go. It's a wrap. Yellow must go. The yellow must go.
To me, the color, it's not a school. I don't really like the color. I mean, that's people's homes. People live there. You know, if you paint in people's home, you paint it at a particular color. Either your national flag, it's not a government building or school.
National color, Sarah Flash is doing a good job. Good job, Sarah. Good job, Auntie Sarah. Auntie Sarah used the best. Vote for Sarah.
I think it's a good initiative. I think it's about time that you know, they did something about it because it was in a very deplorable condition. You know, in my opinion, I think people will have, you know, some people might be disgruntled about the colors chosen, but all in all, it's the color of our national flag. So it's a good initiative. I like it.
I find the colors of the CDC really uplift the city. The nice colors. I just hope they don't take it personal and they don't take it political. That when the other party, if the other party get elected, they don't go and paint other CDCs red. Because I seem like that is the St. Lucian flag, but the yellow, people go have a little problem with the yellow because I don't already talk already about Chasney and the colors, and I just hope they don't change it. But it's uplift the city, it's really nice, I like it.
Well, agree or not, one thing's for sure, the works are ongoing. Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Now, Rochelle Gonzalez also spoke to a few residents of the building about how they feel about the chosen color scheme for the buildings and whether they see it as a political ploy or a sign of national pride.
The revamping of the Castries CDC buildings have most certainly set tongues wagging and has led to the great debate about whether the new look is patriotic or not. The main issue at the center of the debate is the chosen color scheme for the project, namely the yellow that stands out boldly. Whilst the concept is a depiction of the St. Lucian flag, as the building shows off the cerulean blue, yellow, black and white, it is the yellow and its prominence in the project that has left the masses split on whether this was a deliberate ploy by the United Workers' Party administration to promote their party color, or that the project is just a proud and bold statement to show off the national flag colors. The matter was also televised when on Monday, January 4th, Peter Lansico, who is eyeing the Castries Central seat in the next general elections, aired his opposition to the choice of colors, stating that it was a disrespectful decision that took away the voices and choices of the residents. So, was his statement accurate? Hot 7 sought to find this out by asking residents themselves, and we quickly found out that Lansico was not alone in his thinking.
Well, the color is not a school. I mean, that's people's homes. You don't paint people's homes how you want. That's where people live. There are people that don't like the yellow. They might just leave the apartment because of the yellow.
So do you think it's a political thing? Do you think it's more?
I think it's a little political. I wouldn't say a whole political because the whole building is not in yellow. So I have a little political.
On the flip side, others had differing opinions.
It's good. It's good. It's like what? Over 20 years the building have not been painted. So putting the national flag on the building is the best thing that could happen for Castries.
And do you think the prominent yellow, do you think it was a political ploy, or do you think it was just part of the patriotism of it all?
It's not political. It is the national color. You have to have yellow in the national flag. And as people can see, the public can see, is the flag colors.
One of the arguments in the matter is that the true color on the St. Lucian flag is in fact gold and not yellow. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
The Ministry of Health on Wednesday announced that it received confirmation of 2 new cases of COVID-19, females and non-nationals. Meanwhile, Tourism Minister Dominic Fede faced members of the press on Wednesday morning for the first time for the new year. He addressed the burning issue of rising cases of non-nationals testing positive for COVID-19. Hear what he has to say about protecting locals, particularly hotel staff.
One of the terms born from the COVID-19 pandemic and is being used all over the world is known as the new normal, since life as we knew it has been flipped upside down, and like a child learning to walk, the world is learning to live with the virus. Right here in St. Lucia, one aspect of the new normal is the daily announcement of new cases of the virus. Also joining that list of normal adjustments is the rising number of non-nationals being diagnosed. This has obviously caused concerns among the citizenry, as with the news of tourists testing positive, comes the news of hotel staff sharing the same fate, seeing that it is their job to interact with tourists. These hotel staff members, in turn, go home to their families and friends, and so the spread continues. On Wednesday, Tourism Minister Dominic Fede addressed these concerns, sticking to his beliefs that the set protocols for the sector worked.
In the earlier times of the pandemic, we have been hauled over the coals by a number of stakeholders to try to remove our protocols. They thought it was too stiff. They thought that it was an impediment to travel. It was impossible to implement. And I'm so glad that we have kept those protocols, because had we not kept those protocols, you would have been talking about hundreds of people who would have been tested positive. And so what we have to do is we have to work harder to try to enforce the protocols. The protocols are very good protocols, but it is the enforcement, and which is why we're now investigating the level of enforcement of the protocols at the level of the hotel.
Fede said the situation, as it progresses, is tricky and fluid.
Something's clearly not working because we're seeing lots of numbers actually slipping through your nets.
You can't have a perfect scenario in COVID. It is impossible. You are operating where you have individuals from high-risk jurisdictions. Those are your tourism markets. You cannot build new tourism markets overnight. Your flights, scheduled flights, are coming from the US and they're coming from the UK. And so therefore, we've always said that there is going to be some amount of risk. What I'm happy about is that we have been able to contain this risk significantly. When you look at what is taking place in our source markets and how we have been able to manage this.
The minister said actions are being put in place in an effort to reduce the number of cases involving non-nationals who are positive for the virus.
What we try to do is make sure, one, you're tested before you come. It gives us some level of credence. If anyone comes to the airport and we're suspicious of that test, then we test you again to make sure that you're actually negative, and we can verify the legitimacy of that test. We train our taxi drivers to make sure that they are able to handle a COVID positive person in the same way that staff that are carrying a patient in an ambulance would, or someone that is in an isolated hospital situation would be trained in. We have then ensured that we train a lot of the employees in the hotels in how to deal with positive COVID individuals and how to protect themselves.
On Wednesday afternoon, the Ministry of Health announced 2 new cases of COVID-19. Both are, you guessed it, non-nationals. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
Meanwhile, St. Lucia is moving cautiously as it relates to the position of Barbados as part of its travel bubble. Tourism Minister Dominic Fede says until more information can be obtained from the Ministry of Health and CARPHA, St. Lucia can only wait and see. Nisha Charles reports.
Soon after CARICOM member states began to reopen their borders, a spike in COVID-19 cases among a number of territories have caused others within the region to place those countries on a tiered system as it relates to risk. Antigua and Barbuda and St. Lucia, for example, were placed on high and medium risk respectively by Barbados after these countries recorded increased cases. Months later, it is Barbados which has become the center of attention after a bus crawl resulted in an alarming increase in cases, recording over 160 cases at Her Majesty's Prison Dodds alone. The country has taken rapid steps to test as many people who came in contact with the individuals, as well as determine the source of 2 other clusters in that country. Antigua and Barbuda has since issued a letter to Barbados' Prime Minister, standing in solidarity with the island amidst its rise in cases, saying that Antigua would not be restricting travel to and from Barbados. Tourism Minister Dominic Fede was asked about St. Lucia's position on Wednesday.
Our Ministry of Health is in contact with CARPHA and also the Barbados authorities to make sure that we get all the information before we make a decision. And I'm sure that the CMO would have a more specific decision on what should happen as it pertains to whether Barbados should be in our bubble, whether we should follow suit as St. Vincent has, that will be something that I'm sure we can address in a few days. Grenada,
St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines have all opted out of the CARICOM bubble, which was instituted to allow persons traveling within CARICOM states to avoid weeks of quarantine once they presented with a negative PCR test. For the Hot 7 News, Nisha Charles reporting.
Thank you, Nisha. You're watching the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Still to come, the National Students' Council adds its voice to the back-to-school debate. The Anglican Church speaks out against the killing of a Castries man, and the CCC calls out vendors for roadside vending despite restrictions.